Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel. Thank you for joining this live stream. In this chat, I'd like to talk about the US Congressional midterm elections. They're coming up next year, so it's not that far away. I guess my concern with this is that given the polls at the moment, it's reasonable to assume that the Democrats could lose up to 50 plus electoral districts. So that would bring the Republicans in with somewhere between 20 and 30 seat majority in the House. So if not a little bit more than that. Now, if that is the case, and again, given the polls and the way things are going, it's reasonable to assume that something along those lines will occur. What can we do to make sure? What can we all do? I mean, American citizens sort of in particular, but what can be done to make sure that those people that are standing in electoral districts that the Republicans are most likely to win, what can we do to make sure that they're not just RINOs, they're not stooges and flunkies for the globalists or two-bit hangers-on for the big banks or something like that? What can we do, or what can be done rather, to ensure that those people are representatives of the people who are there to represent the people's concerns, concerns over immigration, concerns over declining standards of living, concerns over a whole range of things that are concerns of the majority of Americans. But at the moment, we have a political elite that really doesn't give a shit about the public, the voting public, and particularly where voting laws are enacted to ensure free and fair and honest elections, breaking up of the media conglomerates, all these issues that are important to a functioning democracy. People that are coming into Congress, in my view at least, need to be across those issues and to represent the people's concerns on those issues. Now, if we look at, say, the quite substantial electoral success of Boris Johnson, Prime Minister Boris Johnson in Great Britain, the Conservative Party was effectively in a minority government, and yet in the most recent election there, Prime Minister Johnson came in with a majority of about 80 seats. So 80 electoral districts, that is. So that was a major turnaround. It was a huge win, and all credit to Mr. Johnson for achieving that. But it didn't change anything. What actually happened was the globalist agenda was accelerated. The globalist agenda has picked up speed. It's going at twice the speed it was previously. Illegal immigrants are just streaming into the country. There are no border checks. There's nothing stopping it. The politicians harumph and talk tough, but do absolutely nothing. Afghan refugees are taking over entire hotels and wrecking them. The taxpayer is picking up the tab for bringing over masses of illiterate peasants from the third world, and then people wonder why things aren't working out so well. So all the concerns that the people have, the voting public have, that the majority of the people have, which are not the same concerns that the globalists have. The globalists want to force an agenda on an unwilling public. But the politicians that came in, the conservative, and they're supposed to be conservative, but they're conservative in name only, the politicians that came into the British Parliament in that landslide election win, as far as I can tell, at least none of them give a flying fuck about the people or their concerns about immigration and things of that nature. So the election itself has been an utter waste of time. The globalists have just moved the chairs around on the table, so that the globalists are not only in control, but in even more control than they had previously. So it's just a globalist agenda that's being enacted by a government that again sees that it has nothing in common with the people in its own country, for goodness sakes. So let's look at the congressional elections and say, well, that's how not to do it. The British election that elected Prime Minister Boris Johnson, that's how not to do it. Okay, that is an example of the last thing you want. It's what we or the West needs to do, the Western public, we need to ensure that the people who end up winning congressional districts or standing for election in congressional districts, and the ones that are most likely to win, we make absolutely sure that they are non-globalists. They are there to be voted for and by and to represent the people and the concerns of the people. Not represent the concerns of a fucking globalist elite, but the people. And if we can achieve that and some efforts put into it, and we can watch the donations they're going to get from where, if they're getting big bucks from the big banks or the pharmaceutical companies, then they're just stooges. You just know in advance they're stooges for the big end of town. That's not what we want, and it's not what's needed at the moment. If we're to make democracy function, there are some things that have to be done, and the first thing is to elect representatives that represent the people. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.